We don't have that sponsorship.
Holy, when does 100 Thieves play? This is Flight Check.
Not till summer.
This is Season 5, Episode 17. We're back.
Damn.
One more time. Talking all aspects of FlyQuest and LTA. Or as some nameless media folks posted in their videos today, maybe it should be going back to the LCS. If your name rhymes with Bravis, you have that opinion. My name is...
I wonder who that could be.
Some guy named Travis, I think.
Travis.
Or Kravis. I'm not exactly sure. My name, as always, is Sandy Toes. To my left and my extra left. After 2 weeks off to take a Memorial Day break, Nox War and Curly Double Q. Fellas, Memorial Day has come and gone. We missed last week because we were either with friends or family, taking the day, celebrating our nation's veterans by imbibing alcohol and burgers and dogs, which is how I like to celebrate my holidays.
Naturally.
Pay your respects, baby, by getting drunk and eating well.
And in the meantime, FlyQuest with a dominant 3-0 over Shopify. Cloud9 with a dominant 3-0 over Team Liquid. And then in this past weekend, more surprises abounded. TL taking Dig out 3-1. Maybe some people were surprised by Dig getting the game. And then the crazy upset of the weekend that maybe some people saw coming, rightfully. But I'll be honest, I certainly did not. Shopify Rebellion rising from the ashes and taking down 100 Thieves in a straight sweep.
I think a fair amount of people saw the angle. I don't think anyone predicted a 3-0. Straight, like, I don't think anyone predicted 3-0.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen the trajectory of Shopify. I saw them kind of, like, scaling a little bit at the end of the regular season, and I was, like, confident in them going into their playoffs. And then after the series against us, like, I know some people were like, oh, man, you guys look so bad against FlyQuest. And I'm thinking, no, I think Shopify is starting to look good. And people doubted that. And I'm, like, putting my money on it. Like, no, Shopify is starting to look good. And now... I'm sure some people are still going to say, well, 100, some people are probably going to say, well, 100 Thieves just fell off, and that may be true, but, like, they have inverse paths. One went down, one went up, they met in the middle, and now 100 Thieves is waiting for Split 3.
So I think my immediate question here that I want to pose is, I mean, we went on a bit of a shopping spree ourselves against Shopify the week before. 3-0, pretty clean. How, for you guys, do you feel Shopify turned it around so quickly? I mean, there is the question of the Damonte buff. Curly, you just alluded to something that I think other people have been seeing, which is there has been some scaling up from Shopify of late. How did we get here? How is Shopify top 4 material all of a sudden? And, like,
I mean, I don't
cemented,
think it's sudden.
You know, they were top 4 in the regular season, right? And now it's, like, cemented. They are a top 4 team in this league.
Yeah, I don't think that it is, like, sudden. I think we saw it happening during the group phase. It's just now that people are genuinely acknowledging what happened because they have once again shown their top 4 by putting themselves in top 4 in playoffs. You know, they've solidified what they had already done. I unironically think it is attributed to the pickup of Damonte. I think it's whatever he brings to the team, and it's not just him, it's the whole coaching staff, but the coaching staff, the players, through this split, they've really worked hard to get over what is holding them back. And, like, Fudge is starting to have life. Palafox yesterday, as we'll talk about later, got a pentakill. Like, they are remembering that they are good at League of Legends and really being able to show it. And I'm confident that, like, they'll actually be able to put up a good fight against Team Liquid coming up this week because of it.
Yeah, that's going to be a really interesting match. Nox, how about you? What's the what's the key to victory that Shopify is using? Is it just, I mean, okay, here's the question. Is it just 100 frauds, or is Shopify actually good?
I'm going to go a little column A, a little column B on this. I definitely think
love
100 Thieves is.
Column B.
I think 100 Thieves has fallen off a lot for sure. I don't think Quid and River have not been firing at the same level of firepower that was earning them the rights to MVP discussions in the past year. In addition to that, I think Sniper's really fallen off a boat. And the most surprising thing for me, I think, is the best player on this team in the past couple of weeks has been FBI, which I like FBI. He manages to put out a lot of damage. He's not the most consistent in terms of actual execution, but like, if he's your best player on the team, something's wrong, right? Like, he's just that guy that should be able to pump tons of damage while not always like being the go-to guy. Like, you should be having other players on your team that are more reliable than him. So when he's the guy who's doing the most work for you, there's a problem. As for Shopify's side, I mean, I gotta kind of mirror just what Curly and you were saying, Sandy. Just I think Damonte has done a very, very good job of leveling up the team as a whole in terms of how they play. This can be in a matter of actual gameplay, which you've seen a little bit, like slowly rising over the past couple weeks. Or I think a big part of it is I don't think the atmosphere at the Shopify team house and the team overall has been very, very good. And so I think Damonte just brings this sort of aura with him where it's just like, you get +2 positivity, and because you have this extra positivity, you start playing a little bit better. Because you're playing a little bit better, you start feeling better. And because you're feeling better, you're playing better. And it's kind of this vicious cycle just because Damonte's feeding these good vibes into the team, right? And so you're starting to see like 2023 NRG and like 2020, I want to say it was Fudge. 2021 Fudge was probably the best Fudge that we've had in the LCS, LTA. But you start seeing these guys when they were in their prime because like they were on teams where they felt good, they were playing good, and because they were playing good, they were feeling good, and this cycle of feeling good and playing good starts happening. And I think that's what you're starting to see here because Damonte's managing to feed this team to play as good as they are. I don't think it's going to get him to a top 3 or anything for the time being, but maybe in summer, who's to say? Especially with Team Liquid kind of still being iffy, right? So yeah, I think it's all those things combined.
Yeah, it's interesting you mention 2023 NRG because obviously this team does have that Contracts Palafox core from those days, right? So, yeah, shades of CLG a little bit here too to throw it back even further. Kind of like a team that was kind of middling in the regular season, turns it on come playoffs, really takes their time and ramps. So I'm actually really excited about the Shopify team. I was very down on them a few weeks ago, but they've got me convinced. Curly, how about you? This, I guess, rapid rise for Shopify. You kind of saw it coming a little bit more than others. I mean, talk to me a little bit about that. What had you so convinced pre-series that there was more than just an angle for Shopify?
I mean, it was for this series, it was literally watching our series against them that made me so confident. Because I never felt like, okay, yes, a lot of what we gave them was us kind of slipping up, but it's the fact that they were also able to take advantage of that. They really pushed us to our limits at some moments, and it was us waiting on them sometimes to make the big mistake to then take advantage of that and go all the way in. And considering we have been sitting at the top the entire split, aside from, sure, you can give the fact that C9 technically finished first in the regular split, whatever. We've been sitting there at the top for the entire split, so if they're able to really push us genuinely, that means they are absolutely scaling. And it didn't look like a fluke. It didn't look fraudulent to me, like people like to throw the phrase around. And I think something particular that really, a very specific thing to me that kind of instilled a little bit of confidence is Contracts and Fudge in these last few weeks have looked more lively. Palafox as well, but particularly Contract and Fudge. And I think them like being online really helps the rest of the team be able to do well.
That makes sense. I've been watching a lot of first take lately, and so this is a classic question that they ask post a big matchup. So I'm going to ask it to you, Curly. Does this series say more to you about Shopify or about 100 Thieves?
I think it says more about 100 Thieves.
Interesting. And this is a great segue now to the next topic of conversation.
Yeah. But I think it says more about the fall off, because while I already said it, one's been on the rise, one's gone down. They went in the middle. The timeline of Shopify and their rise is more compressed, and so you would argue that is more impressive. And I would be inclined to agree a little bit. The other thing could be that we might not have observed that now that lane swapping isn't really a thing. It still, I think, happens in small moments, but not genuinely. Maybe that also plays to Shopify's favor. I don't know. But 100 Thieves has gone from second place in Split 1, like beating us and just actually being surprisingly good, to trailing off over the entire split. And it just kind of feels like there's been a loss of energy and a loss of potential talent and hunger over there, that kind of came out of left field. I was really like touting them high at the beginning of the split, or at least hoping they would maintain what they had shown in Split 1. And so the fact that they've fallen this much, I think like it says more about them, because even Dig is starting to look better. I know they're out of playoffs with their loss, but they were able to take a game off of Team Liquid. So if you've got Shopify and Dig starting to look up and you're falling down, I think you have a lot of introspection to do as a team over the time you have between now and Split 3.
Nox, I'm going to ask you the same question then. Does this series tell you more about Shopify or more about 100 Thieves?
I think I gotta lean more with Curly and say I think it speaks more for 100 Thieves and kind of the downfall they've been having. I mean, this is technically a 5th, 6th finish after finishing top two winner, right? Like this is a major downfall for them, and officially has, like, if you go back to our power rankings earlier in the year, like pretty much all of us were saying, there's none of these teams are getting in the top 4. Well, that's happened now. That you officially have Shopify in the top 4 of the LTA. Like beforehand, it was like, okay, they got them in the regular season, but like playoffs is where it counts. And let me tell you, they made it count, man. 3-0. What? I don't need to say much more than that. They've solidified themselves as a top 4 team in the North American Championship. So,
and it wasn't even close. Like it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Like I know that Golden Glue went on. He went on Twitter afterwards and said, hey, game 1 and 2 were winnable drafts. Game 3 was not, so he took that responsibility. Sure, those might have been winnable drafts. They did not make it look like it. So, yeah, Shopify just had their number. In the series. I think for me, it also... I'm actually going to go a little bit the opposite route. I think it says a little bit more about Shopify Rebellion and the glow-up that they've had. I think, I will admit, I'll be the first to admit, I got really enamored with a team like Lion, right? And I saw them and I was like, ooh, new, shiny, fresh, Adilan, his first time here in NA, Lions is up here. He's a great support from the South. Licorice is back. Saint and Henna are supposed to be really good. Like, I was really enamored with that team. And when, I thought about, okay, what team could break into top 4, that was where I went. Shopify is a team that has very good, very competitive players on it when they are at their peak. Palafox at his peak. We call him Palafaker for a reason. Contracts at his peak is a top 3 jungler in this league. Fudge has shown historic highs in the past. Bvoy, we have known for a long time, is a very serviceable AD carry. And Seos, I think, has shown up more and more as this split has gone on. So, I mean, I'm ready to revise. Like, when Split 3 comes around, I'm revising the power rankings. You know, and until 100 Thieves can show me something else, Shopify has supplanted them in my mind as one of the top 4 teams in this league. So I think it really shows what Shopify has done over the last several weeks. You know, I think we probably should have had an indication of this when they really pressed us in the group phase. Like, throwback to that best of 3, that was a tough one. That was probably the hardest best of 3 we had in that. In that group.
If you want, we could just talk about our series versus them last week, where we 3-0'd them, but it was the longest 3-0 in North American history.
Right. It was not an easy day. Go, Curly.
Not at all. Well, no, I think we should like get a little more in depth on that series because like Nox said, it's the longest 3-0 ever. And boy, was it a mountain to get there. Game 2, 51 minutes long. Oh my God. Yeah. I was sitting there watching it. I was stressed the whole time. And then when Masu started, Masu, by the way, was absolutely shredding.
Yeah.
When Senna came online, and then even with the Lucian, like those damage charts. Like, can I look at the damage here? Maybe not on these stats, but oh my God, let's see. Okay, the damage in game 3, Masu did 77,000 damage. He was unleashing his coal so much into Fudge and Contracts. The absolute meat monsters that are Scion and Dr. Mundo. Like, everyone was going into that like, oh yeah, FlyQuest lost draft. Lucian's not going to do anything. And like, for the longest time, they were technically right. But like, his goal was always for the late game. He's like, I'm just going to keep dealing damage. I'm just going to keep dealing damage. I'm just going to keep dealing damage. And the secret play the whole time was always going to be Bwipo. Because I think a lot of people forget that Renekton can do a lot of damage. And his sustain and is his greatest power. So like, sure, they've got 2 meatballs over there, but you've got someone who can soak up all the damage he's doing and just keep refilling that health bar. And if he builds it right, which Bwipo did, he can also deal a lot of damage, especially to the squishy carries in Orianna and Xayah. So that game 3 like was definitely a test of strength. Like, all right, if we get to the right point, we can win this, and we did. But I don't know. It was just. It was stressful for a lot of it, though.
Draft, yeah, that game 3 draft, I have a lot of criticisms for. I do not know what the whole like we R3'd a Lucian after the Scion had already been picked. Like, why are we picking Lucian when there's already a Scion in the draft? That doesn't make sense to me at all. And then in addition to that, you're also picking Hwei, which, I mean, R2 Hwei after the B1 Scion is already kind of iffy, but you can still play around it a little bit. But that was a horrendous draft from FlyQuest.
Yeah, not only that, like, I did not love the Mordekaiser in game 2 either. Like, just really felt like it did not do very much at all. The Yorick was so much better. And, I mean, Bwipo picked the Mordekaiser into the Yorick, right? And, like, Mordekaiser, his whole role is to walk into a team fight and single out a single champion, take him into Death Realm, and beat them down. I don't think there's any champion except maybe the Leona in Shopify's draft that Mord could really do that to by the end of the game. The Ezreal could just jump around. The Azir could shred right through. The Yorick was certainly doing plenty. So I was just not in love with that Mordekaiser pick, and I feel like there had to have been something better there that we could have gone with. Obviously, the Renekton and the Olaf were banned away in that game, as was the Gwen. But I just wonder if there was something else that Bwipo could have pulled out there. And then, yeah, Nox, I agree. The Lucian into the Scion was an odd choice, and while the Wei did do a lot of work, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I didn't love that pick either. It didn't feel
It's one of like
Yeah.
it's one of Quad's just like fallback, like, hey, it's a game 3 fearless on top of there's been some bans. This is just kind of his nice staple pick. It's nothing you're gonna write home about, but it's also like nothing that's gonna solo lose you the game, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
It's also thinking about that because it is fearless. It's something I'm sure they're much more comfortable throwing away, like if you lose it, rather than having to bank on it later.
Yeah. Looking back at this series, who would you guys point to as the player of the series for you?
I
Whippo.
think I do have to give it to Bwipo because here's the thing: as much as Bwipo fell behind in game 2, towards the end of game 2, like they were still no longer able to kill him. He was separating people off to the sides. He was very annoying to deal with. He had a massive game 1 Ornn game, and then game 3, he's pretty much the sole reason that they even won that game at all. Like he just was an absolute menace on the Renekton. So I have to give player of the series to Bwipo on that one.
Yeah, no, especially like throughout the series, I saw him being a key engager in every major fight that we were able to win. And like, even though he did take a while to get online with Mordekaiser, it's like Nox said, it's like he was causing a lot of disruption, which that's kind of what you have to do with those kinds of champs. It's not always like, okay, I'm going to cause a big bonk, I'm going to cause and kill everything. Granted, he did do that with Renekton. He got good kills, but it's more, okay, I'm going to engage this and make it hard for them to do whatever they want to do, you know?
No, I agree.
And
My only other player that I might throw out here would be Busio. I thought he was not deathless, but he died only 4 times in the entire series.
Yeah.
And when you think about how games 2 and 3 were 50 minutes each, and in those 2 games, he died 3 times total, 2 times in game 2 and 1 time in game 3. Like, that is crazy impressive to be in that support role and not die, especially on like a champion like Rell, which the entire point of Rell is to go in and engage, get your ulti off, and then possibly die after. Nami, not a champion known for being very tanky, right? Goes 1-1 and 21 on that. 1-2 and 19 on the Rell. And in the much shorter game 1, 0-1 and 11 on the Alistar. I think, like, yeah, definitely props to Bwipo. But for me, if I was putting down a vote, I would be looking at Busio. Just, I think he really, really carried the game from the support perspective. Justice for supports, in my opinion.
Fair.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, I just fair.
No.
I definitely do think he deserves a shout out for sure. He had a solid series. I think I still lean Bwipo just because actual agency of like winning the game. I think Bwipo did more than Busio, but Busio played a very solid series for sure.
Totally. Okay, let's quickly run through kind of the Team Liquid saga of the last 2 weeks. So we had them getting routed by Cloud9 and then taking down Dignitas this past weekend. I gotta say this first of all. Team Liquid not affected by a spawn buff. Spawn in country. Not making things better. Absolutely routed by Cloud9. UG playing the majority of the games. Umpty did come in for game 3 versus Cloud9. And then, did he even play?
He did not play against
He did not play
Dignitas, it
against
looks like.
Dignitas. So yeah, usually has played every game except 1 in playoffs so far. Okay, I'm gonna bring this question back one more time. UG playing 6 out of 7 games for Team Liquid in playoffs so far. Does that tell you guys more about Yuji or more about Umpty?
I want to say it's more about Yuji. I mean, it's a little bit about Umti because I've heard a little bit behind the scenes that in scrims wise, like scrims for TL are a far better when Yuji's playing versus Umti. So as far as that's concerned, I think you continue to just play Yuji until then, right?
I mean, yeah, that makes sense to me. Curly, what do you think?
It's hard for me to make a choice on this one. I think to me it shows a little bit more about the coaching staff and what they're willing to do right now. I think it shows they have confidence in Yuji against Dignitas as they should. And I think like strategically now is the time. Like, yes, it's playoffs, but like now is the time to gamble with like getting some good experience for your new jungle while still having your experienced jungle in your back pocket. Like these first two games are the ones to do it, because it's like, okay, you lost the upper bracket, fine, you got a second chance, and you're confident that you can show up against Dignitas, and they do. I don't think if they want a chance of staying alive, they really need to figure out which one is actually going to be the better one, because I do think Yuji has been showing up well enough, or at least he did against Dignitas, but it's hard to say which one for me will be better, or if it even matters that much, because I think the team overall is just kind of not in the best space. Like Impact is in a bit of a lull compared to some previous showings we've seen from him, and then personally, I haven't felt too much from APA. Like sometimes he's had some peak moments, but overall I haven't. The bot lane has been reliable. Jan, as long as he like is able to have a little bit of a game, he will take everything he possibly can. So I'm not really losing faith in them. It's more kind of that top half that I think is going a bit awry.
Yeah. Seems like, yeah, there's just been some communication struggles all around. Not necessarily out of game, but maybe more in game has been the focal point there. I think looking ahead then towards their matchup against Shopify, which will determine who plays the loser of FlyQuest Cloud9 this weekend, is there now... Team Liquid's still very much a strong team. But as we look ahead and begin to make our predictions for Team Liquid and Shopify, there was an angle for Shopify to beat 100 Thieves, and they did it. Is there a similar angle for them to take down Team Liquid and make it to top 3 and championship weekend? Nox, your thoughts. What do you think here?
It's possible. It is absolutely possible. I think it really comes down to, because I don't think Contracts played that well in this 3-0. And he said so himself on Pros this morning too. He said he didn't play that well. So I really think if Contracts can step up and really capitalize on the fact that this is like Yuji's first time on the stage in playoffs. I know he played last week and the week before. But like he's still fresh, right? So I think if Contracts can use his veteranship and like really level up and actually play like he's supposed to play, I think he can take advantage of Yuji. And then I definitely think Fudge is playing better than Impact right now. Impact played okay last weekend, but I think Fudge has the absolute advantage in that particular setup. And then you get good old Palafox versus APA again, baby. Good old North American midlaners dueling it out, slugging it out. It's always been fun. I love it. And historically, the match record, I know not recently, but historically, match record-wise, Palafox still has the advantage over APA. The record's close, but it's still in Palafox's favor, so I'm just putting it out there. I will say, unfortunately for Shopify, Team Liquid's bot lane is just far better, period. B-Voy's been meh at best. Seos has been okay. Jan is still the best AD carry in the league. It is what it is. Core JJ, in general, has still been performing good. He's been having some hiccups here and there, but the bot lane in general should just completely trounce Shopify. So I think what I'm really going to be looking for is I need Fudge to completely just dismantle Impact, make sure he's not able to play. I need Palafox to be able to bring back his old form, show APA what's up, saying, hey, I'm the original new era NA mid laner. What's up? And then from there, I think it really just comes down to contracts actually being able to level up, because I don't think the bot lane's ever going to beat TL. So those are the win conditions, in my opinion. It's mid, top, and jungle.
Mid, top, and jungle. Curly, how about you?
I'm gonna have to definitely agree. I think it's on that mid top jungle, which we just saw a good breath of life into Shopify, in all of that. And so I'm saying, like, I'm not just gonna say that there's an angle. I'm gonna say that they are going to beat Team Liquid. I think the decline that they have been facing is, too strong, and that Shopify's like trajectory is just going to keep on going up. I think TL will try their best to make it a really long series, but I'm waiting for Nox to release those pick'ems so I can lock this in.
I'll go through it.
The call.
Well, I just need to make sure. I just need to make sure people don't think that I'm like saying one thing on the cast and doing another in my choice. I'm committing through and through, But I just really see a lot more life from Shopify right now, and I think that they're going to be able to carry that and make it a championship weekend.
Yeah, I think I hear you guys and where you're coming from, but I think this is where the Shopify Miracle Run ends. I think Team Liquid will get it together. Not enough to make it to finals. I think finals will be a rerun of winners finals as well. But I think Team Liquid does take this. I think it will probably be closer than people think. I'm willing to put money down on a Team Liquid 3-2. It's kind of where I'm leaning. But Nox, I'm with you on the Team Liquid bot lane is just too good. Yep. Even in losses, they look really good still. Like, they are the most functional, best part of this team. And I just think Team Liquid needs to play through their bottom lane, play through Yawn, and they'll be just fine in this series. I think there is the chance of, contracts or Palafaker having a pop-off game and really giving it to Team Liquid for a couple games here or there. But I just think Team Liquid has it better, is better suited in the long run of a long series than Shopify. So that's where I've got that.
Agreed.
Now let's turn our attention to the big boy match. FlyQuest Cloud9.
Big boy match.
What a series this is going to be. I've been waiting for this one for a while. Like this specific best of 5. Since we knew that, since Cloud9 beat us in the positioning phase, and we went to opposite groups, didn't play each other in a best of 3, this is the matchup I have been waiting for, and I am really excited to see. We look good. Cloud9 looks good. I want this to go to the distance. I want this to be a full 5-game banger series. Scrappy, knock it down, drag them out, beat them up. Hardcore League of Legends. That's what I want out of this series, and I really think we're going to get it. Curly, for you first, and then Nox, keys to victory for FlyQuest in this series. Where do we get the advantage? How do we come out ahead?
Draft. Let's not give ourselves an uphill battle. Let's start with our foot, 1 foot forward, not 2 feet back, so that way we're walking, maybe even running when we get the game started. So that I think is going to be one huge thing for us, because we have the opportunities to be more creative as a team. We just are cooking more than other people. We are more creative in our approaches, and especially like I think with what we can get out of Whippo and just combos in general, we have a big advantage in draft opportunities. So that's that. But then the other thing is I think we need to make sure we are able to get our bot lane ahead really, really quickly. Because despite our previous showing against C9 as a whole, I do think that Sven Vulcan is actually a really good part of like how Cloud9 is able to look so good. I know a lot of people trout on Thanatos and Loki being like the powerhouses of Vulcan, and they kind of are, but I'm very confident in our team, so it's not somewhere I see it as the key to victory for us. It's, I think, bot could be the most contentious point for us. Other people would probably say jungle, but I'll let you guys talk about that.
That's fair. Yeah, Nox, you go.
Well, mine was also going to be draft. I really Curly had it right on the nail. Absolutely need to get the draft nail down. But since he covered that, I'm going to go back to what I said the first time when we were going to the best of threes. I really think it's important that Inspired continues to play as he has been versus Blabber, because historically I feel like Blabber has had a better time in this particular jungle meta than Inspired has. Inspired has been proving me wrong in that regard, and I want him to continue to prove me wrong in that regard. So as long as Inspired continues playing like he is, I think things can be okay. Outside of that, though, I really just... It's just draft, man. That's all I'm really nervous about. Both of these teams can play at such high levels and can make such smart plays and great like individual mechanical moments that I really think the only thing I'm watching is the jungle matchup and which jungler is going to influence the lanes the most, because I think Thanatos can handle anything Bwipo does in lane for the most part, and it's fine. I think in general, Quad and Quid, they can go back and forth depending on the matchup. And then same for bot lane. I think in lane, I think Sven and Vulcan probably have a tad bit more pressure than Masu and Vulcan do, Masu and Busio do. But in general, I think Masu and Busio can handle themselves in lane, and it's fine. They will even find moments where they can even push Sven and Vulcan out of lane. Yeah, it's just I'm really eyeballing Inspired and Blabber. That's going to be my big thing along with draft.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to kind of go 3 for 3 on the draft here. My angle on it was going to be, let's not cook too much. The time for cooking is over. I do not want to fall into losers finals. I really don't. I want us to go into winners finals being able to watch the games from the day before and take that info and run with it. I want us to have good momentum going into finals on a winning streak. And I think it starts with draft. I think it starts with smart counter picks, not picking, Lucian into Sion, giving Bwipo things that will dominate in lane. I think you have to... My angle that I'm going to take here is you have to disable Thanatos. He's probably been the best top laner. I know Bwipo got voted All-Pro first team. I think I might have given it to Thanatos, frankly, if I was voting. To me, Thanatos has just been very complete this split. And so that's kind of where I think FlyQuest needs to focus both early game and draft. Take out his champ pool, force him to play something weird, get Bwipo on something comfortable, and I think the game will really proceed from there. Following that, I mean, I am in agreement with Nox about jungle being pivotal. And Nox talked about, like Quad and Loki, they're going to go back and forth a little bit. But I think mid lane is also very pivotal as well. If Quad can really dominate, we have seen Quad really take over games and series with his play. And I actually think Loki is a bit of a weak point for Cloud9. He's probably been the least impressive player on that roster for me. And so I think if Quad can neutralize him, that is what I'm looking at as a way for FlyQuest to take a decisive series victory. So I agree on draft, I agree on jungle, but I'm going to tack one more key to victory on. The solo lanes are the key for me. Get Bwipo on something comfortable, and Quad needs to dominate in the mid lane. All right, those are our keys to victory. So we've successfully done a NBA pregame show, for playoffs and whatnot.
Now I have one question though.
Oh, please.
Is it hypothetically better if we don't win this series?
I hate that.
Because last year, and I think that's only as far as I went, but I'm pretty sure the trend is the lower bracket finals winner has won that split consistently. We won it last summer. TL won it last spring. I know NRG was the lower bracket when they won. I think the exception to that would be C9 before that.
So, if I remember right, because there was no lower bracket in winter.
Yeah.
We won last through the lower bracket, and that in turn sets the record of lower bracket versus upper bracket finals wins. If I remember right, 9-8 in favor of lower bracket wins. So, in the spirit of keeping things at 50-50, I think we need to win through the upper bracket. So, no, we should not lose to Cloud9. We need to dominate them as it is, and we need to take this the way home. I rest my case.
And take their identities and steal their property and their cards while we're at it. Just pure domination.
I don't think we need to do that. We're fine.
All right. Well, then let's get into predictions then. Curly, I'm going to start with you. Where are you putting the series this weekend? First, Team Liquid Shopify, and then FlyQuest Cloud9.
I'm going to be very, very boring and say 3-1 for Shopify Team Liquid. In favor of Shopify.
Okay.
And then, of course, I'm going to predict us to win. And yet again, I'm going to be very boring and say 3-1. I do not think we're going to be able to get to that game 5. If I'm being honest, one of the wins will probably feel like a bit of shenanigans.
That's usually how it goes for us.
Yeah. So, yeah. But I'm not feeling a game 5 on the horizon. I think, if I'm being fully honest, I don't think the only place I see a potential for game 5 is going to be in that lower bracket finals. And if it doesn't happen then, it's not happening until split 3 or MSI, of course.
Fair enough. Very interesting. Nox, how about you? What's your predictions for the series this week?
TL Shopify. Yeah, I got to go with Curl. I was thinking about, is there a world with a game 5 scenario? And I'm not feeling a game 5 either, Curly. So I'm going to go TL 3-1 for the TL Shopify series. I think Shopify will get something in there because someone underperforms on the TL side, and then they'll get their one. But in general, I think TL is good enough to close it out from there. Cloud9 versus FlyQuest. I feel like what's going to end up happening, especially because I don't think I'm actually going to be able to watch this weekend, it's going to be this game 5 game bangers of a series, right? And I think FlyQuest is going to pull it out. But then what's going to happen is we're going to get into finals and it's going to be another 3-0. And it's just going to be like, okay, well, that was disappointing. Because that's typically what I feel like happens in finals, man. Like, you get to the real final was the winner upper bracket final. It's never the grand final. So that's kind of my prediction. I think we're going to get the banger 5-game series this weekend versus Cloud9. It's going to be awesome. And then I think we're going to run into them again in the grand finals. And that's going to be a 3-0. And it's just going to be like, oh, well, it is what it is, I guess. But we'll take the dub.
That's fair. I'm going to be very optimistic and say we are getting 2 5-game bangers this weekend.
Ooh, I respect it. I wanted to pull the trigger, Sandy. I'm proud of you.
I'm gonna say Team Liquid 3-2 over Shopify, and I'm gonna say FlyQuest 3-2 over Cloud9.
I like it.
I think Shopify is good. They are a top 4 team. However, they are just the 4th best team in the league. And Team Liquid will pull it out. Although they won't make it further than that. And then I think it'll be FlyQuest taking down Cloud9. I do think Quad... I think Quad's going to pop off. This weekend, it's going to be the weekend of Quad. The week Quad, or the Quad end, if you will. That's what I'm predicting. It's going to be the Quad end. The Quad Father will make himself known, and Cloud9 will be made to kiss the ring. That is my take on it.
I like it.
All right, that's predictions. I got one final topic. I alluded to it a little bit earlier. Travis Gafford dropped a video today, which I have not watched, but I think the topic is one that certainly interests us all. The LTA rebrand. We're 6 months in. Has it flopped? How do you guys feel about it so far? What's the take? Is it worth continuing with, or should they go back to LCS starting next year?
So my take on this is this rebrand could have worked. It could have. And the reason I say that is because I really genuinely believe that there was not a lot of effort put into the rebrand. This was just kind of general executives from the top up saying, oh, yes, it's time to combine the Americas into one region, like the Americas League in Valorant. Like, we just need to have everything as or I guess like mirrored as possible, so all of our esports are the same, and everyone can follow everything as easy as possible. And in some world, in some sense, it kind of makes sense. Like, right? Like, if you're a Valorant fan, you can go over, look at the league side, and you like, okay, yeah, the format's kind of the same. I can kind of general, like, these are the regions. And so I understand. The execution was not there, on top of the fact that I think in general that no one really wanted to do that. No one wanted to homogenize the two different leagues to make sure that they were kind of somewhat similar. No one wanted to have the Brazilian league and the Latin American League and the North American League all combined into one thing. The domestic regions and the audiences that watched for each of those respective leagues were proud of who they were individually, even if they were not the best. And so when you get the upper management telling you, hey, all this needs to be combined, it needs to be homogenized, it needs to be the same as Valorant, like, none of your own employees are going to have the urgency or energy to want to make that rebrand happen. You did not sell your own team on making sure this happened. And so what ended up happening is you had this half-assed rebrand happen where things like, hey, if someone that is a casual fan wants to check what the Google score sheet or what the status of the league is and who I cannot talk, the standings of the league, teams in the league, like, you still, like, I saw a comment on this and I checked it myself. Google still pops up with 2024 LCS. That is the last time that anyone sees anything. It doesn't reroute to what LTA is. It doesn't show you the LTA standings. Like, people who are, like, outside of the normal, like, talking sphere of what a league is, like, they get completely shoved out. And it's, for them, because they're casual, they're not going to put the energy to really dig any further than that. They'll say, oh, well, it just shows me 2024. Well, okay, don't care. And they'll move on. Like, small things like that, as small as they are, actually matter to a lot of people overall. And that's just applying to the broad spectrum of what this rebrand was. And so, if Riot had put the actual energy and effort into making sure the rebrand had the support structures put in place to make sure that they could support what this brand was supposed to be, it would have been fine, I think. Still would have been a shaky start, but it would have been fine. Now you just have this horrible dying brand that makes no sense, nobody wants to deal with, no one cares about. And yeah, I would say, to your question, Sandy, you at this point absolutely should just go back to the LCS, because otherwise LTA is just going to continue to flounder and die. If you go back to the LCS, maybe it's salvageable at least. You'll have people who are reinvigorated and wanting to make sure the league actually does its job and can survive. And yeah, so all that to be said, yes, I think next year they should go back to LCS, because the amount of energy put into LTA was not there, and it just completely crashed and burned before takeoff. It's not recoverable at this point.
Yeah. All you have to do is make a video of Captain Flowers purposefully striding through the hallways at the studio, and he points at the camera and he goes, LCS is back. And like,
Oh,
and the crowd goes wild. The crowd
absolutely
goes off. And, you know, we're back to 500K peak viewership. It's not that easy, obviously. But, like, the hype would be right back. I think for me, what signifies how bad of a choice this was is when I tried explaining the rebrand to my wife. I said, oh, I'm going to watch LTA later. She went, what's LTA? I'm like, oh, well, it was LCS, and then they were trying to do it, and they did all the blah, 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 and I explained the whole thing. She's like, well, that sounds stupid.
That's like, literally, like, basically the exact reaction my wife had.
Yes. My wife does not care about this game, about this esport whatsoever. Does not care. Not her thing. She'll watch. She'll ask questions. You know, she puts in the effort to, you know, care if my team wins or loses. I appreciate that very much. So if she is hearing about all this and, like, recognizing the idiocy that it is, Riot has messed up. And guess what? It's okay. First of all, there is precedent now for Riot to say, hey, we messed up. Do you know why? Because Mark Zimmerman came out after Split 1 and said, yeah, that format was ass. And we're going to retool that format. You're never going to see that format again. It was bad. They do the same thing. Hey, yeah, LTA, not great. You could even keep the overarching, LTA, big LTA, right? League of the Americas, right? You don't want to go back too far. Big League of the Americas. All you do, change the freaking conference names.
Oh, yeah. I agree with you on that one.
Call it LCS and CBLOL.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you have to do. It's not hard. You have all the branding already. It's ready to go. Rev up that Twitch channel, and you're good. Bring LCS back. It's time. This has not worked. Curly, LCS rebrand, hot or not?
So I have very mixed feelings. This, to me, because I'm going to be real, I have a frustration with League fans as a whole and LoL esports fans as a whole, because I think a lot of people are quick to say something is dead before it gets the chance to thrive. That being said, I'm not saying this is something that has a chance to thrive, because I think if they want to go for the concept of the mixture of still having the conferences together, like in one overarching league, it's good. But you're right. The history behind the names of LCS and CBLOL just are not something that you can overcome. Like, you would have to really, really build up the new brands, which I haven't really seen too much, to be able to sell it. So that alone is like, if you're gonna go to replace something, you got to do it really, really well. But the other thing about it is, I think it's the execution not only of the brand, but of what the actual structure has been ineffective. Because we had the cross conference stuff in Split 1, which like really made us like pay attention a decent bit to like this the LTA South, like made us look a little bit at like, all right, what are we going to face? Like, I was checking in more frequently just to find out what's going on. Now the only reason I have to care about that as an LTA North fan is I probably am going to have a couple of LTA South players on my fantasy team, so I got to figure out, okay, who am I putting my points in? Granted, for me, it's always Jose Dioto and someone else. But like other people, if they really want to like put gambits, not just on players that they have faith in, but like really want to try play the min-max of who's going to do best this week, that's the only reason that they have like inherently feel incentivized to do it. Because Split 2, we haven't done anything to intermingle the conferences at all. The only thing that they have in common is that their first seed is going to MS. That is it. There's nothing else that matters between the leagues aside from that and your LTA fantasy. And that, I think, is where we get this bubble of, okay, we did one split of cross-conference stuff kind of mattering. Now it doesn't have any platform. There's no big show of it. So we haven't been exposed to the overarching brand. We've just been exposed to the sub-brand. So why are we calling it something new? That is the thought process that is behind everyone. And I'm sure I haven't watched the Travis video, or I don't know if it's video or just tweet or whatever it is, but I'm sure that's some of the thought processes that he's saying as well. And so I do agree. I think return to LCS as the name, return to TBLOL as the name, unless you really breathe some life into it in this split 3. I don't know if you can, but if you can, you got to do it really, really well. Because you can leave everything else you've placed there, but I think the fandom, the energy behind it will change if you are allowed to return to the historic brands. But on the flip side, no matter what you do with this, for fans, I would love it if, as a scene, as like across esports in North America, if we had like a bit more patience. Because I think the other thing is we are so quick to just shit on everything, no matter what it is, when it's new. It's like, I feel like a lot of like Reddit, a lot of Twitter, a lot of Discords, they just like pushing things down if they're not instantly the best, you know? And so no matter what happens in the future, if you really truly care about what you're trying to watch, I would want you to like have a bit more patience with that. I'm not saying you have to say, oh yeah, blindly say, yeah, you know what? This is the best thing ever, even if you don't agree with it, but don't just shut it down instantly. You know, I think it's a little bit of effort on both sides. More on Riot's side though.
Yeah.
They need to treat this well.
For sure. Oh, okay. After all that, I think that's a great place to leave things off. Final thoughts? Anything before we close out the night?
I would say in general, even though it's been 3 out of 4 matches that have been 3-0s, I think the matches have actually been semi-decent quality. Like, I know Cloud9 TL, honestly, was probably the biggest stomp, but I think in general the level of play has been at least entertaining to watch, so I've been kind of happy in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think split 3, if we're able to keep this up, the league looks a lot more competitive. And I'm excited for it. Of course, I'm excited for MSI first. I'm really, really looking forward to us getting there and excited to drop more money on whatever Carly makes for that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. All right. Thanks all for tuning into yet another episode of Flight Check. Playoffs continue this weekend. Do we play Saturday or Sunday? I didn't actually look.
I hope Saturday. I'm DMing Sunday. It's a lot harder to watch League in the middle of... All right, thank goodness.
We play Saturday. 4 o'clock versus Cloud9. TL Sunday, 4 o'clock versus Shopify. And then we will play again, no matter what, either Losers Finals the next week, the next Saturday, or Championship Sunday, the 15th. So, all that to say, we appreciate you all tuning in to this episode of Flight Check. You can follow us on Twitter for our reactions and thoughts to everything going on. The show is at Flight Check Crew, myself, Santos DB, Nox at NoxWar with 2 R's, and Curly at Curly_QQ_. Don't put an extra underscore. There's only 2. Make sure to hop into our Discord as well. All kinds of esports discussion and otherwise taking place in there. If you missed any part of the episode, unlike last week, the VOD will be up on YouTube tonight or tomorrow morning. If you're watching that and want to catch the show live, we do broadcast the episode usually every Monday night, usually at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at twitch.tv/FlightCheckCrew. Curly, any final notes, shout-outs, or plugs before we wrap up?
You know, no big shout-outs right now. It's just kind of been kind of been chill. I guess, actually, you know what? Shout out to this random series of videos I found on YouTube that has been helping me prep for my campaign DMing because I'm running a module.
Nice.
Someone made a playlist of like little DM prep videos, about 10 minutes per chapter. Very helpful. D&D community, always great with guides.
Solid. Knox, how about you?
Trying to think. You know what? We re-upped our Netflix because we want to watch Black Mirror and Love, Death and Robots. So those are the two shows I've been watching recently. So shout out to those two shows, and that's about all I got for the time being. I've just been busy as all get out, man.
Nice. My shout out's going to be to the shirt on my hoodie, or the team on my hoodie, Washington Nationals. They just had their first winning month since August of 2023.
Hey!
So,
big
Nice.
month, big month.
Huge month. So it's only up from here. Big stuff. All right. Potentially no show next week because I will be in Maine. However, we'll be back for sure to discuss finals. So we'll be back then, and we'll just ask you to stay safe out there, bite your teeth, do not forget to hit the head on the nail, and we'll see you all very, very soon. Adios, everybody.
Happy Pride and have a good one, guys.
Peace, y'all.